What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes, podcast number 3. And we are here to discuss some interesting topics today. Now, before we hop into this thing, I do want to say we are now on Apple Podcasts, we are on Google Podcasts, and we are on Spotify. So if you can give us a rating and comment on those apps, that would be lovely. We have some great topics today, Taylor. I'm excited for it. We are bringing baseball into the mix. We are getting involved here in the baseball season pretty heavily as the Stanley Cup Finals are going on and the NBA Finals kicks off. It is soon to be baseball season, if you will, and let's be real, we both love it. So, last thing before we dive in. We do have a voicemail box set up where we actually had a few callers call in for this podcast. The phone number is 856-442-9805. And you can leave your voicemail. It is open 24/7. If you have topic ideas, if you have your points, send them our way. We'd love to have them. So with that being said, let's start off with the first topic today, and that's bat flips. Bat flips in baseball. And it's interesting because you have all the old heads, and they despise it. They hate it. The pitcher should throw at them every single second of the day when there's bat flips involved, and I think that's silly. I think that's nonsense.
Let the kids play.
Yeah, what is your take on the bat flips?
Like I just said, let the kids play. This is a new era of baseball. We're no longer in the, for lack of a better term, classy era of baseball. The sports like football and hockey, and I guess you could say basketball as well to an extent. It's about the players having fun out there, and that's what the younger audiences want to see.
Yeah, it comes down to having emotion, playing with like passion and fun, and it makes no sense to me in this regards. You have pitchers out there who, first off, they're the ones who are getting absolutely rocked, and they messed up, and a pitcher, or for the most part, they missed the location. I know that there's some good pitches that get rocked, don't get me wrong, that's what good hitters do, but for the most part, I'd say the pitcher probably messed up, and then you have the pitcher being able to have a weapon at 95 miles per hour to chuck it at the batter, and you can't do anything to respond if you are the one in the box. It makes no sense how the MLB over how many years allowed it to go to this type of way.
And not just that, a bat flip isn't going to injure somebody. How many players have we seen miss extended time by getting hit by a pitch? Even pitches that are fouled off. Look at Rhys Hoskins last year fouling off a pitch, hits him in the face. You know?
Yeah, I agree completely. This is something when you take a look at it, and it's so dumb. It seems so childish, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. You hit a home run off me, and you're not allowed to bat flip, or I'm going to rock your next guy in the lineup with a 95-mile-per-hour heater, or I'm going to throw it behind him to kind of get him scared, or I'm going to throw it inside on purpose. It's so childish. It's like you're playing in your backyard or playing wiffle ball, and you're upset with somebody, but you're 30 years old, and you're getting paid millions of dollars. How about you don't miss your spot? How about you throw a better pitch? How about you don't allow the other team to rock you out of the ballpark? When does that come into play?
Yeah, and hitting a home run in baseball is like hitting a long bomb in the NFL if you're a quarterback, if you're a wide receiver. Look at Matt Collins. He catches a bomb back in 2017, and he's doing the floss dance.
Right.
You're not seeing baseball players doing dances, but we have bat flips.
But I will say, as much as I am a bat flip supporter, I thought about this on my drive home from work, knowing we were going to have this discussion.
Yeah.
It can cross the line. So, for example, if you catch a touchdown pass, like you said, you have a nice little celebration in the end zone. Okay. if you catch a touchdown pass and then for 2 minutes you're running down the field 100 yards doing an airplane, or say you score a goal in hockey and instead of doing a Danny Briere fist pump, you do a Danny Briere fist pump and then you glide from blue line to blue line on your stomach and you just exaggerate the celebration. You can do that to an extent with a bat flip, and one person that's been pissing me off lately is Dietrich, and I hate his style of swagger, as people call it. I think there's no swag involved with his, and he does this slow motion, he leans his arm back, and then he does this soft little trot around.
He does that little, like,
I don't really know how to explain
MJ, it was like that Michael Jordan
shrug of the shoulders.
Yeah,
it's see, now that to me, especially when the game's just spitballing 7-0, 9-0, to me that's a little bit extreme, and I understand why pitchers can get that upset over things of that nature. But 3-3 game, bottom ninth, you let up a walk-off or whatever the case may be, if it's a high pressure situation and there's a bat flip involved, by all means, 12-0, you're showboating. Okay, I understand that part of it to an extent, but still, I don't think a pitcher should be able to throw a 95-mile-per-hour heater at the next batter without getting charged.
Yeah, and again, there's a happy medium. Just as there is in any other sport, there's a happy medium where it's possible for a bat flip to cross the line. When it comes to Dietrich, in my opinion, he just has a bad bat flip.
Yeah.
No, and when it's a bad bat flip, it becomes something that's done in bad taste. And when it's done in bad taste, it's going to leave a sour taste in everyone's mouths, just like it did yours.
It's not even like maybe it's because this guy is almost a nobody, because it's not like this guy rocks the ball every year like this. Now he's tearing it up. He might be at 17 or 18 homers at this point right
he's raking.
And he's never done that before in his career, and he's on the Cincinnati Reds. So maybe that's why. I normally love stuff like this. Things like this normally get me going. It gets me fired up. I'm stoked. I'm in love with it. I don't know why I watch him, and I'm sitting there saying, nah, dude, that's not it. Like, that's not it. I don't know why, because I'm normally all about it. Batista's bat flip, that was sick. That was awesome. Things like that, that's where it should be fun. You need baseball to have a little bit more juice. How come this game is played with zero energy or zero, I don't know, personality? Why is it like that? And you wonder why ballparks are like Chicago. Did you see the picture of the Chicago White Sox game?
Oh, it's horrible.
Why is it like that? Is it because, well, I mean, maybe because the teams that were playing weren't anything worth the money, but still, 6 people in the ballpark? That's embarrassing.
Did you hear the final numbers on the Rays home game yesterday, I believe it was?
It's pathetic.
It was just over 5,000. I think it was just over 5,000 people. It was a record low attendance for the Rays, and at the time they were a game out of first.
Yeah, that's a place that's just never going to get any type of fans, and it's wild. You would think with a team that, and regardless of if you think the Red Sox, or regardless if you think the Yankees are going to make a big push and win the division like they normally always do, you got to support. I mean, you're telling me there's no fans out there? There's no fans out there? How? How is that possible? It doesn't even make sense to me. And then teams like the St. Louis Rams lose their franchise. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
And the Raiders are going to move to Las Vegas. And Oakland Raiders fans are diehard.
Yeah. How does that even happen? That makes no sense. But diving back into personalities with baseball and the bat flipping and all of that, we can tie it into a big discussion that we want to have today, and that's in regards to the electronic strike zone. So I'm going to actually play a voicemail call that we got in regards to actually having electronic strike zones. He thinks it would be a great thing for the game.
Okay.
Let me just find this voicemail call here. We got a decent amount. I was very, very interested in hearing all these. I was pumped. I was definitely pumped. So let's give a listen here.
I think there should be an electronic strike zone because it takes away more of the human element, which I don't think the human element should be in the game as much as we can prevent it. Like, if we can prevent it, we need to take it out as much as possible. We should try to get the game as perfect as possible. And the electronic strike zone would help with that.
All right, so he claims that human element should not be involved with baseball because there's errors involved and humans make mistakes, and an electronic strike zone would change that. And I get where he's coming from, and I was always anti electronic strike zone. I started to move a little bit towards being intrigued by it, but the more I think about it and the more I research it, I just don't think I'm ready to make a move like that. How do you feel about his analysis on the human error side of things?
So, for one, in my opinion, when it comes to baseball, it's all about, as I said before, a happy medium between the tradition of the game, that old-timer feel to the game, the classicness to the game, and what the direction that the game needs to move in order to get new generations intrigued, involved, to speed the game along more than anything else. An electronic strike zone would certainly speed the game along, in my opinion. However, obviously baseball is moving in a more offensive direction.
Yes, absolutely.
You will triple the pace of that progression by switching to an electronic strike zone.
Well,
guys,
I think about it in this regards, though. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm thinking in my head here.
Okay.
When is it going to be like tennis? So, for example, when the ball gets out of bounds, is it just the tiniest little bit of the shadow that has to touch the line for it to be a strike? So now these pitches that just nick the strike zone are going to be almost unhittable, but technically they're going to be a strike. And I don't know if that's okay. Like, how do you do it? What is it, a percentage of the ball, and somehow they can calculate how much of the ball actually hits the corner of the strike zone?
And not just that. What's one of the main things in any sport that gets younger generations involved? Star power, right?
Yes.
Especially the NBA. That being said, an electronic strike zone, which would more likely than not shrink the strike zone from what it is right now on average.
You think it would shrink the strike zone?
Overall.
Okay, well, if it did shrink it overall, would you, at the end of the day, see more hits? Or no, would you see more walks? Because I'm thinking when these pitchers have to try and force it in this smaller strike zone, these hitters are going to be able to rock
exactly.
it.
But when I'm saying star power, I say star power on the pitching end.
Okay.
Guys like Jamie Moyer, for example, who pitch well into their careers, and obviously he's an extreme, but pitchers who may have been able to pitch into their late 30s, mid 30s, may only be able to pitch into their early to mid 30s because they need to paint the zone a little bit. They can't get guys out with 95 mile an hour heaters anymore down the middle. And they rely on being able to manipulate the strike zone and manipulate the umpire in order to go deep into games and have success at the major league level.
Yeah, you make a good point with these pitchers that have, I wouldn't go as far as the stuff, because at this point in the MLB, I would say majority of these pitchers do have this stuff, but there are different styles and different techniques to being a legitimate pitcher in this league, and you would essentially almost knock out a specific breed, if you will, of pitchers that work and paint corners and location is their legitimate thing. Not that, I know that sounds kind of silly because at this level you need to have that type of consistency in almost painting the corners and being good with your location, but there are guys who thrive more with that, and the electronic strike zone could definitely ruin it. I also think of it to this extreme, though. When you take it outside of baseball, is that going to affect the way other sports are now? Because you're taking out a huge piece of a game and adding a computerized thing, and that'll spark, okay, what can we do with hockey? Or what can we do with football? Are we going to have robotic referees in football? It sounds so ridiculous, but guess what? So does an electronic strike zone to someone who was watching baseball 50 years ago.
And every other sport has human error as well. Just because you can challenge things, just because they may rely on replay a little more than baseball doesn't mean there's no human error.
I wonder if I would feel the same way if the Phillies were in the World Series. See, this is how I compare it. Human error can't happen in an NFC Championship game to the degree that it did. But if we're watching the World Series, the Phillies are in Game 7. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-2 count for Bryce Harper with bases juiced, and we're down 1. And there's a pitch that, close, borderline, electronic strike zone probably would have it a ball, but the umpire rings him up on the outside corner. Would I feel the same way as, human element's part of the game? Would I feel the same way? Because right now I'm thinking to myself, human element's part of the game. If an umpire misses a bad call, he misses a bad call. That's part of it. But would I feel the same way if I got rung up to lose the World Series with our best hitter up with bases juiced and 2 outs down 1?
And that brings up, I think, another point that we need to discuss, which is the state of umpiring in baseball in general, because that's what I think is leading to these discussions.
Bad umpiring?
Yes. Not necessarily an inherent need for an electronic strike zone, but you have guys like Joe West and Angel Hernandez who are absolutely trash. They are garbage. I don't care who you're a fan of, if you've gotten calls from them, if you've lost games because of them. They are horrible to a ridiculous level.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I do know that for a fact. Every time they umpire a game, and they're getting roasted on social media
because they insert themselves into the game in a way that nobody wants them to. The best umpires are the ones where you never hear their name because they're getting calls right.
Yeah, and it's kind of like being a left tackle in football. If you don't hear the left tackle's name in the game, good job today.
Exactly, and that's my thinking when it comes to the electronic strike zone in general. If umpires were held to a higher standard in general, where guys like Joe West and Angel Hernandez and whatever other guys you can throw out there, I'm sure there's a few more, where there's a level of seniority to it where it seems like they can do no wrong in the eyes of baseball, but to the eyes of every fan ever, they don't believe they should be in the league at all. Maybe we wouldn't have this problem. Maybe people wouldn't be calling for an electronic strike zone because all we ask for isn't a strike zone to the mathematical T that a strike zone should be. We want a consistent strike zone. If you have a wide strike zone, keep it wide for everyone. If you have a hitter's strike zone, keep it narrow for everyone. That's all we ask.
Yeah. No, I see it as these umpires. It's tough. I'm torn because it's a hard job. There's no denying it.
Oh, 100%.
And it's tough to make all these right calls, and we crush them. It's similar to, I guess you'd say, a bullpen player. You don't praise the bullpen when they do well. You just rip them apart when they do bad. So I just feel like as fans, which is human nature, we rip apart the umpire when he's absolute trash. Yeah. But when he's good, we don't say, yeah, that was a great job behind the plate. But I do feel like I've been texting you way too much about the terrible umpires. I even thought a couple calls tonight with Aaron Nola was bad that led to some walks in the second inning when he had 2 men on and 0 outs.
And the other guy was getting the calls in the same spots where Nola wasn't getting calls.
Yeah, it has been to that degree. So let's hit another call here on the voicemail box. I love this concept. It's Tony from South Jersey.
Tony
from South Jersey. Let's hear it.
Yo, it's Tony from South Jersey. I just wanted to run down a couple of the topics real quick. First of all, bat flips. Hell yeah, we're doing bat flips. I love a nice bat flip. It's beautiful in the game. Electronic strike zone, absolutely not. Get it out of here. Get the technology out of the game. Get it back to the good old boys playing baseball. I'll take Keuchel or Kimbrel, either one. Bring them on over. I love it. Huge, long MLB contracts, baby. Either one of them, I love it. Let's get it going. Go Birds.
Oh, that's great. Tony from South Jersey. He kind of went for, because I put the display up when I left the phone number to call in, he kind of touched each topic real briefly. All right? Loves the bat flips. It's for the boys. All right? Tony from South Jersey. He He is not about the electronic strike zone. Did not like the electronic strike zone thing. Get it out of the game. He doesn't want the technology. And Dallas Keuchel, Kimbrel, he wants them both for the boys, and he loves the long contract. So he pretty much loved everything except for the electronic strike zone. It's hit or miss. I just don't know if we're ready yet. I don't know if we are there yet as a sport, if we're ready to take out the umpire behind the plate. I know they've been trying it in AAA, or not AAA, single A maybe. They've tried it in a league so far this season. I haven't read up on how it went. I tried to do some research before this podcast. It didn't really hit us with anything in regards to how well it's been doing, but they are starting to step it up.
Yeah, and it's all a matter of finding that happy medium. People are so extreme. Either it needs to be all electronic or completely traditional with umpires. There's a happy medium, and one day they'll find it, but it takes time.
So, what if, and I already kind of laid out the scenario of Game 7 and the umpire missing a call.
Yeah.
What if it's Game 7, the Phillies are pitching, they're up 1, bases loaded, full count. Jake Arrieta's on the mound in Game 7 for some reason. All right, Jake Arrieta's on the mound. He pins the corner with a perfect pitch, and the strike zone didn't read it. What happens? Do you re-pitch it, and then we get rocked and lose the game on a walk-off? What happens?
I mean, in theory, that shouldn't happen.
You're right.
With no electronic strike zone, it should be perfectly perfect. It's the only way I can say.
But you can't say that can't happen. That can absolutely happen. My thing would be, do you have 7 electronic strike zones just in case one goes bad? 7 detect it? Is that when Joe West can be behind the plate and ring someone up? Is there still someone even behind the plate? I guess there has to be for plays that come home. But then are we gonna get rid of the umpires at first and third and just replay everything, but have it right at their access to the point where you don't even need guys calling people out at first and third and plays like that?
I would imagine if I were to be enacting an electronic strike zone in baseball, the way it would work is similar to how you see on your TV, with a strike zone that is already on your screen, but there's somebody in an office in New York or wherever they are for each game with the same strike zone, and whenever a ball crosses the plate, it populates where it landed, and they mark it. If it's on the line or inside the strike zone, strike. If it's outside, they just hit ball. And it populates automatically.
I don't even think the pitch cast that is shown on TV, I think that's garbage. I've seen it where the Phillies pitch cast shows it a ball, and then you watch the Nationals pitch cast on the same game on the same pitch, and it's 3 inches inside closer. So I don't even believe in the pitch cast that they show us after strikeouts or after bad pitches. I don't know what to believe.
And here's another weird thing to think about, and I don't want to get too deep into this particular part of it, but how will this affect base stealing? And in general, how players manipulate the base paths, because you don't have you don't have an umpire calling balls and strikes,
right?
But there has to be something signifying what happened in the at bat. If a guy's running towards second to steal second, but it was ball 4, but it was a close ball 4, let's say, that player's going to keep running along. Not knowing what was called when they could just walk over.
Well, from my understanding, there still will be someone behind the plate.
Okay,
so whether that helps that situation or not, you're right. See, it's going to be odd, and I do believe it's going to eventually happen. It's just a matter on when. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I do see the MLB moving that way. But hey, we can't bat flip. We can't bat flip, but we can take away the umpires due to close calls. It's insane. I keep thinking about the bat flip sometimes, and even tonight's game, when Franco had a nice ding-dong today, he had a mini bat flip, and the pitcher was walking back, pouting. It was a back-to-back dinger at that situation, and are you upset because of the bat flip?
It was the catcher. It was Wieters who was pissed. he was mouthing off to him, and I thought before when they went to go intentionally walk him, Wieters didn't want to intentionally walk him. I think he wanted to beat him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. I saw that. They were looking back at the dugout. They zoomed in close on the catcher's face because they didn't want to intentionally walk Franco. And I guess I discussed, is that crossing the line on that was a sick home run, sick back-to-back, or, hey, it's 9-1 at that point, I believe. Are you kind of going overboard with showboating? That's kind of maybe close, but listen, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a hypocrite at that point. I'm all for bat flips. How is it not entertaining? You need entertainment for the fans. This sport is, I'm not going to say a dying breed, because if you do take a look around and look at numbers and look at viewers and look at stadiums that are packed when the teams are actually good, the numbers are up. They're not dying. It's the bad teams that are struggling with getting people in the ballpark. It's tough to kind of separate the two, because Boston, New York, LA, Houston, I mean, you can go on and on. Philadelphia, the Braves, there are so many teams that get good crews. And then there's even teams like when you take a look at the Pittsburgh Pirates and teams that are in the middle of the pack, you take a look at their games, there's people in the stands. It's not an empty barn. I think baseball has better ratings than people perceive that it does, but things like bat flips and all, it only helps. It doesn't hurt.
Yep.
There's no reason why it shouldn't be allowed. And what they did do, though, there was a game this year where Rhys Hoskins got absolutely beamed for Bryce Harper hitting a homer. I forget the situation off the top of my head. It had nothing to do with Rhys Hoskins. And we were actually getting crushed in that game. And they threw behind and over Rhys Hoskins in one at-bat.
Yeah.
And he actually got suspended. Was it the Nationals?
Yeah, that was the one where Rhys wound up taking him deep as revenge. It was the guy on the Mets.
Yeah. It was the Mets. It was the Mets early in the season. That's right. Because we played them again. We played the Mets again after that series pretty soon, and he rocked the same pitcher deep.
And he took the longest home run trot in baseball history.
Yeah, it was longer than Bartolo Colón's. Now hear me out. If you allowed a home run to Bartolo Colón, do you let him bat flip and jog around all slow?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you just let him.
He's allowed to do what he wants.
Yo, would you take him for the
He's
Phillies
big
right
sexy.
now?
Big sexy can do what he wants.
Would you take him for the Phillies right now over Nick Pivetta?
Right now?
Yeah.
Why not?
I heard a funny comment in one of my live streams today. I figured I'll just throw it out to you. You're starting a franchise.
Yeah.
Andrew Knapp as your starting catcher.
Why?
Or Nick Pivetta has to be your ace. So we're talking playoff games, wild card game. Who are you rocking with on your team? Nick Pivetta as your ace, or are you going Andrew Knapp as your starting catcher?
Nick Pivetta, it's not close.
Really? I disagree completely.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. Nick Pivetta, even though he struggles with command, he struggles with his confidence, I think they're the two biggest things he struggles with. He has extremely good stuff. He has the fundamentals.
See, I don't even want to hear the rest. You know why? I've been hearing this for 3 years.
I know that.
3 years.
But what has Andrew Knapp showed you?
You know what?
He's best when he doesn't swing a baseball bat.
But that's fine. If I'm thinking wild card situation, I still think I can have a team built with Andrew Knapp as my catcher and batting eighth. Then I'd have a better chance of Andrew Knapp being in the lineup than Nick Pivetta starting the game. Because why can't I have Verlander on the mound with Andrew Knapp catching, and that gives me a better chance?
Sure.
You're not buying it. Let's move on to the next topic here. And that's Dallas Keuchel and Kimbrel. And these two guys are still out in free agency. And we can just talk about
It's unreal that they are.
Yeah, it really is. We can talk about them as a whole, not so much diving specifically in for the Phillies. Obviously, that would be a huge pickup for the Phillies. And briefly, if we are going to just talk real quick about the Phillies and this situation, I'm in favor of starting pitching over closer, and then we can move guys into the bullpen of Vince Velasquez and Nick Pivetta into the bullpen, and that'll only deepen, or it would only make our bullpen stronger at the end of the day. I think we need help with starting pitching. So I can't believe these guys are still out there. Looking at Dallas Keuchel, 30 years old. He was an all-star in 2017, 2.90 ERA last year. And, I mean, he allowed 200, or I'm sorry, that 2.90 ERA was his all-star year, but he allowed the most hits in the majors last year, and that was everybody's big thing. Oh, his numbers are going down, his numbers are going down. And you're right, but he also faced the most amount of batters.
And he's also better than Nick Pivetta.
He is better than Nick Pivetta, Jared Eichhoff, and Vince Velasquez. He's absolutely better. But just as a whole, as a free agency market, how is this guy not signed yet? There are so many teams that are relevant. Well, I guess you can argue that he was being somewhat of a hard ass and trying to wait so long to get a lot of money, and he realized he wasn't getting the years that he wanted. He wanted long, I'm not going to say long as in Bryce Harper, but he wanted, I believe, a decent amount of years. We're talking 5, 6, 7 years. No one's going to pay that at 30 years old. Now he's saying, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll take a 1-year deal for someone who's ready to contend.
Sure. And it's a weird situation with both Keuchel and Kimbrel, and I agree with you. In terms of the Phillies, starting pitching is always more valuable than bullpen. And I say that because despite how it looks, the Phillies bullpen hasn't been bad, statistically speaking.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
I think going into a few games ago, they had combined around a 3.4 ERA, something like that, combined. And that's pretty damn good.
Oh, it is. It is. And Hector Neris has been awesome. And Kimbrel's
been
out
unreal.
there. I know. Kimbrel's out there. And once again, for all of free agency, I think that there are other teams that probably need him more than the Philadelphia Phillies. Take a look at the Atlanta Braves. Even the Chicago Cubs have blown a ton of saves this year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good teams out there that need a closer, and I don't know if he's worth... let's not go as far as that, because like I said, there are some teams that are that desperate that anyone would help, and I'm not going as far as, you can only be desperate to need Kimbrel. He's obviously a good player. But let's not act like last year in the playoffs when he was pitching for Boston that he didn't have some really shaky moments. He pulled them out. He won them a World Series title. But there were some shaky moments in that playoffs.
And you know what's interesting is I hear many Phillies fans, many people in your comment threads included, saying, we need Kimbrel. Why haven't we signed Kimbrel? And I say this. Do you really want Kimbrel? Or do you just want solid bullpen roles based on what we have?
Yes.
Yes. Because people think that if we get Kimbrel, he's going to close every single time we have a safe situation. No, he's not.
Analytics.
Gabe Kapler's going to put him out in the 5th inning when Nick Pivetta has the bases loaded for one batter.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if he did that, though, honestly?
He will. And you tell me he wouldn't. With a straight face, promise me he wouldn't.
I can't promise you he wouldn't, but I will say that I would be absolutely disgusted if this man did that.
But it wouldn't be the first time you've been disgusted this year.
True, but would he ever put Hector Neris in a 5th inning situation?
Has he this year? He might have.
I don't know if I feel like Hector sometimes early in this year was used for like 1 out in the 7th, and it bothered me. But I don't know if it ever got to the point where if Nick Pivetta had to leave in the 5th, we were putting Hector Neris in.
Yeah, and before Nishek got hurt, before Adam Morgan got hurt, and all these guys got hurt, there were a few different combinations of guys that, whether it was going into the season or as we got to know this current bullpen this year, that could have taken specific roles in the pen, and I think that would have lessened people's need or want for Kimbrel. If you add Keuchel to a rotation like the Phillies, which doesn't really have a true 5th guy, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely see where you're coming from. Let's go to a call here about the Dallas Keuchel and Kimbrel situation.
Okay.
Hey, Brodes. I'm sorry about that last one, but I meant to ask, who do you think we should get over, Keuchel or Kimbrel? Because I say Keuchel because I think our starting pitcher needs help. Yeah, thank you.
Nice, quick, and to the point. Thank you so much for the call. He just asked us if you have the option there right in front of us, Keuchel, Kimbrel, who do you think? He's going with Dallas Keuchel. I think he's right. You want that starter. We've kind of went over this briefly, but with where the Phillies are, you need a starting pitcher. I'm done with the Eichhoff. I'm done with the Pivetta. I'm done with the Velasquez. We need a legitimate starter, regardless of how many hits he allowed last year, regardless of anything else. His stats are going down. He's 30 years old. I don't care. He's better than this unproven mess that we keep trying to hold on to. My opinion is simple. It's Dallas Keuchel.
And along with Arrieta, he's someone who brings a winning mentality. He has a ring. He knows what it's like to win a championship.
And I don't know how much this makes a difference, but he'd be going from the AL to the NL.
Yep.
And some of these people haven't seen him often. And that's one big thing on people were saying, let's go get Madison Bumgarner. And listen, I'm all in. I think he might have a little bit of a douchey attitude, to be honest with you. But I'd still take him in a heartbeat. But they say there is a monster difference in getting an acquisition from the AL to the NL because these teams that you're going to be playing in the playoffs, they haven't seen him often. They don't see him as much. They got to rely on more tape than actual real-life opportunities against him.
Yeah, and speaking of Mad Bum, I love Madison Bumgarner.
Me too. But once again, he's no prime Madison Bumgarner.
No, but he's still, one, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Let's get that out of the way.
Fair.
Number two, he's somebody who, even if he's not in his prime, you know he's going out there and he's going to give you the best chance he can possibly give you to win. Whether it's in the regular season or the playoffs, which is more important because I think it's, when it comes to the Phillies at least, I think it's safe to say that this team has the potential to be a playoff team coming out of a division win.
Yeah, I didn't realize, by the way, how bad the Giants are really doing.
They're horrible.
We're talking Miami Marlins bad.
They couldn't even get Aaron Altair, man.
Yeah, that speaks value on what Aaron Altair really is. Now, Altair went to the Mets, and now I think he got cut again from the Mets. I don't know if he got cut from the Mets or not.
He hit a bomb in his first at-bat, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did, but I don't know if he's still there. I don't know.
Right.
But all around, I think both are great players. They waited and they waited and they waited and they tried to get as much money as they possibly can get. And it's crazy that it hasn't been there. Does this concern you, though? You go get Dallas Keuchel, and do you think these guys have been pitching to an elite level to the point of, when I say elite level, I'm saying as if they were in season? Does Dallas Keuchel go out every 5 days right now when he's not signed and pitch his ass off to make sure when he does get called or when he does make that contract signing, he's ready to go? Or do you think he plays it off as, well, let's not wear myself out. That's the beauty of my position. Because I think he needs to be throwing to an MLB level right now, or he's going to come in and be like David Robertson.
I have no idea. And that was one of the reasons why I was so confused when, especially someone like Dallas Keuchel, not as much Kimbrel, but with guys like Dallas Keuchel, where I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you're waiting, but you're most likely not getting signed till the deadline. Because at least if they sign you right at the deadline, maybe they can pitch you somewhere else and get you warmed up before it's time to start the second half of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
And that's up to whatever team signs him to do their due diligence.
There's no way, if I had to guess, that he's throwing to the level of, say, Jake Arrieta, Aaron Nola, these guys that are pitching right now, because he's going to try and save himself. But you need to throw. I mean, you need to legitimately throw, not just go out there and toss. You need to throw. And that's the same for Kimbrel. We watched David Robertson not throw in spring, and a lot of pitchers do that. Let's be real. A lot of pitchers don't throw as much in spring as they probably should early in the season. They might get rocked a little bit until they get adjusted, and then they find themselves. But if these guys aren't getting ready, they can be in for, a little ass kicking there on the mound.
And not just that, and this is my last point about this, is that imagine the Phillies sign, and I'm using the Phillies as an example because it's just easier to make examples that way.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so imagine they sign Dallas Keuchel. You would imagine he probably needs a couple starts in the minors before he actually pitches for the big league club. And then on top of that, once he comes up, he needs to get a chemistry with Realmuto. He needs to get a chemistry with Knapp.
Yeah. Well, I hope not Knapp, but yeah.
Well, you never know. Maybe he gets a day off. But that's a major factor. It could be a solid month before he's pitching at full strength.
Yeah, that's crazy. But guess what? I'd still do it right now knowing our situation. You
Me
know
too.
what I mean?
Me
and
too.
you got to think of just having a lefty.
Yeah.
Just having a lefty.
Phillies? Lefties? What?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. All right, so with that being said, I think we both agree Dallas Keuchel would be the move over Kimbrel because we can attack that bullpen by adding starting pitching, and we all pretty much want to see legit roles. It's not about what we have in the bullpen. It's more about having the set things in there. And you know what I just remembered? Tommy Hunter.
He might be back in June, I think.
Remember last year watching Tommy Hunter, though? I don't even know what to expect.
Well, we hated the first half. He was what, the Juan Nicasio?
Yeah, but time out. Did we not hate Hector Neris last year? So who
We did.
knows? Who knows?
When I think about bullpen pitchers, I think of them like cornerbacks in football. That in football, you ever notice that there's a few star cornerbacks, but then with the rest of the cornerbacks, they sometimes will have a good season, sometimes they'll have a bad season, and it's hit or miss every other year. You never know what you're gonna get. And with bullpen guys, it's the same thing. You have a few of your star guys, your Andrew Millers as an example. Some of the star closers.
Chapman.
Chapman's garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about is Jordan Hicks still kicking around for the Cardinals, even though he just blew a save? The thing with them is they're never in an opportunity to save a game.
Well, I personally find velocity to be the most overrated thing in bullpens.
Well,
People
you're
think,
telling me you wouldn't want Hicks to be in the back of our bullpen?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when it comes to bullpens, I think a lot of teams go, oh, this guy can throw 100 miles an hour. He's closer material. Let's try him out.
Yeah.
And a guy like Aroldis Chapman, did he win a ring? Yeah, he did everything he could to blow it. He had nothing to do with that Game 7 win.
Well, with you mentioning, you're saying let's talk about closers, and the fact that we can't spit them off the top of our head, does that just show you maybe teams are doing more closer by committee based off of analytics? Like, there's really Kimbrel because he's a free agent, but in the sport of baseball as a whole, the closer position, is that almost dying out? Like that elite closer?
Yes, but I don't think it has to do with something that, or any kind of, I don't think it has to do with a trend that people should be following, that managers should be following. I think there's a purpose for the closer. I think we learned it in 2008. I know that was a long time ago, but we learned that with Brad Litz. There's certain pitchers in this league, bullpen pitchers, who have the nerve to pitch that ninth inning when it's close. And we've seen and learned the hard way what happens when someone goes into that inning not being able to handle those nerves. Juan Nicasio. So, yeah. So and those pitchers tend to struggle when they're not pitching the ninth, and I think that is one of the big problems with Sir Anthony Dominguez right now. Believe it or not,
I can't even process what is going on with Sir Anthony Dominguez right now. I really can't.
Yeah.
But let's move on here to our last big topic, if you will, of this podcast, and that's just the big contracts in general, the big baseball contracts. And you saw huge ones, obviously, this offseason. Manny Machado, 10 years, $300. Bryce Harper, 13 years, $330.
Oh, who got him?
I don't know. Philadelphia Phillies.
Woo!
Mike Trout, $430 million extension. And listen, you know me, if you've been following this channel, if you've been following me on Twitter, I literally despise national sports media. Yep. I don't value it. It's a joke. It's all about ratings. Let's say the dumbest thing in the world.
Don't have to convince me.
Yeah, it's all bad. But there is one guy out there that 2 months into the baseball season, this is why I said long-term contracts are stupid. Look at Bryce Harper. And listen, you're not going to see free agents hit the market like they did this year. You're not going to see the Bryce Harper, Manny Machados hit that type of market. You see Nolan Arenado. He stays with the Rockies. He gets an extension. You see Mike Trout. And obviously the Angels would be so dumb to let him walk, and no one really would. No organization would. So they extend him to $430 million. Teams are going to be extending their best players. So when you have opportunities to go out and get Bryce Harper for 13 years out of free agency, you do it. You do it. And it's not like these teams think that all 13 years we're going to get Bryce Harper over his prime. Don't you think we know the back 4 years we're going to eat the contract? But that's what it takes to get him in his prime. I don't think there's anything wrong with spending a long-term contract for baseball. I really don't. If there's one sport where it makes the most sense, it is this. And it's not just 100%. The free agency people. When it's, like I said, the extension. Is signing Mike Trout for the rest of his career a dumb decision? How is that a dumb decision?
It's the best player of the past X amount of years. And will most likely go down by the end of his career as one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Absolutely.
It's common sense. But you do raise a good point of how in baseball it makes more sense. And here's why I think it makes the most sense than any other sport. In baseball, you have a farm system of cheap players.
Yes.
So unlike in basketball, where you're trying to manipulate money to put together the funds so that you can afford as many big names as possible, or in football, sometimes it's very similar. You're trying to pay a quarterback, and then you don't have enough money to fund some position on the field. In baseball, you can pay someone like Bryce Harper $330 million, not invest heavily in your bullpen, but maybe a guy like J.D. Hammer comes up.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go, J.D. Hammer. 2 strikeouts tonight. But you have these cheap players that you can potentially plug in and they may succeed. While in other sports, if you don't invest in a position, you're probably going to struggle. Whether it's the Seahawks with their offensive line, when they invest money into their defense, or if a team pays their quarterback $35 million a year for a ridiculous amount of years, say the Lions with Matthew Stafford, paying him a huge contract, and all of a sudden you've seen where their team has gone. In baseball, you can have these big contracts, which help a team in more ways, not just on the field. But think of a guy like Bryce Harper and what he means to the Phillies. Think of a guy like Mike Trout, what he means to the Angels. These guys sell tickets, not just to fans of these guys, not just to Phillies fans, but to fans of other teams that come to watch them play. And you get more national coverage, which helps with with fan attendance and viewership and ratings. And and it helps with advertising.
Yeah, you raise a good point with Bryce Harper and just the jerseys, and he signs this 13-year deal, and there's no opt-outs. And what does that say to this fan base in regards to, well, what if there was an opt-out after year 2, after year 5? There's such a big difference, and I know that's kind of nitpicking the whole big contract thing there, and that is part of it. Like Manny Machado, I'm pretty sure has an opt-out. What Bryce
I was about to ask that. Does he have an opt-out?
He does. And I'll Google it real quick. But
I think it's 3 years.
I think you're right. But what Bryce Harper did is not normal. What he did with the no opt-out thing, that's just it really is just not normal. Most of these people do have opt-outs at some point. A player has an opportunity to leave the contract midway. But it's just, let's see here. I think you're right when you mentioned the 3rd year. Yes, allows Manny Machado to opt out after the 2023 season. So, with that being said, it's just, to me, if you're an organization right now and say, right now, you can sign Cody Bellinger for the next 10 years. You right now can sign Christian Yelich to your baseball club for the next 12 seasons. In what world would you sit there and say, you know what? Nah, because what if he's bad for the last 3? I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying though? The logic that big contracts in baseball are stupid, it's nonsense. And the people that see the 330, I can't believe you're spending 330. Then you have the people that do the math after he strikes out. Well, that strikeout was worth $35,000. Shut up. That's so silly. And the AAV, this might sound like nonsense. Only $25 million a year after this first $10 million year. That's actually not even close to being bad when it comes to touching that. When it comes to touching that luxury tax.
And when it comes to Bryce Harper, he made it very clear. His contract makes it clear the way it's structured. He came here to win and to form a relationship with a team and a fan base for the next 13 years.
But not everybody does that, though. So
No,
specifically,
not at all.
long-term contracts. I don't think Manny Machado was saying, "Ooh, I'm going to go to San Diego because I want to win and I like their structure and I'm structuring this contract because I want to win a World Series and put my team in the best position." I think he was like, "Yo, I can go play in San Diego and I can get paid $300 million. Let's go."
And I can jog out ground balls to second.
Like, think about Mike Trout. You think Mike Trout, I know at the end of the day, Mike Trout wants to win a World Series, but I don't think he heads into the next 3 seasons and goes, yeah, this is it. I mean, let's be real.
And the Angels haven't shown that they're able to put together a good enough pitching staff to support what he can produce.
No, but I don't think that it's out of the question for his length of time there
forever. Of course.
I think him staying there and committing there can only help.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't want to play with Mike Trout?
Right. I know Bryce Harper does.
Oh, I know.
Can you imagine if we
I was hoping. I was hoping.
Me too. I had a feeling, though. He's too good of a guy. He's too good of a guy to respect the Angels, which is fair. I mean, that's part of why we wanted him here because of, how much of a good guy that he is. And real quickly, before I touch on something, are you one of those people that are like, I know you're not, actually, but there are people out there that are so upset with Mike Trout for not coming here that he can't go to the link, he can't sit in those seats, he better not get a football. Like, grow up.
And as someone who has a very unique perspective on Mike Trout, because as you know, and as some of your viewers might know, my girlfriend grew up across the street from Mike Trout. She played wiffle ball with Mike Trout. And if there's one thing I know about Mike Trout loves this area, whether it's South Jersey, Philadelphia. He loves us. He's a Philadelphia fan, born and bred. No one is not taking that 400 million. No one.
Yeah, you're not passing up on that. That's been one of my biggest things throughout all these topics. Like, for example, and I know Jimmy Butler's a weird guy sometimes, but are you going to lose out on 1 year $50 million at his age? He's not going to get another contract. I think money talks. I know money talks. It always does. There's always outliers. Like, there's a chance that Jimmy Butler walks because he cares more about location. Than there are outliers, but at the end of the day, whoever offers the most money, and even just specifically think of Bryce Harper. Yeah, the Dodgers offered 4 years and more AAV, but that wasn't 330.
Sure.
Did the Giants sneak in there and get a big offer, but it wasn't 330? The Phillies ended up having the most amount of money at the end of the day, and that's what gets you going. But just big contracts in general, just real briefly running it through here in other sports, because I started to think about it, and I'm talking about Bryce Harper, Manny, and the MLB, and the luxury tax, and you take a look at some of these basketball signings, and just in general, and I guess this isn't so much long-term contracts, but just contracts in general. Oh my Lord.
NBA
it's insane.
NBA money is video game broken.
But it's you have to factor in the amount of money the NBA is bringing in is arguably right below the NFL when it comes to the 4 major sports, and there's 12 guys on a team, and 4 of those players are legitimately nobodies. They're Furkan Korkmazes. They're you know what I'm saying?
Oh, he's your boy.
Yeah, they're Justin Andersons. They're not the legit players. So the 4 or 5 players that actually get paid per squad, you break it up, and I'm looking at numbers for what Giannis can get paid and all that. It's insanity what these guys can get paid. Then you look at hockey, and Sidney Crosby makes $8.7 million a year. Now, I will say, though, the number's starting to jump. You're getting guys in the $12 million a year range for hockey now, and that sounds silly to basketball players. We're talking about paying Jimmy Butler 1 year $50 million extra than everyone else. But even hockey's moving up there.
Yeah, and that's the way sports have always trended. Always up.
But
And
to this degree, it's only going to keep going and going and going?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Like, at some point, you can be paying an NBA basketball player 5 years, $600 million. Like, is it really going to get to that level?
I don't know about that.
But where does it stop? Why wouldn't it? I mean, if the NBA is continuing to make money and the NFL is continuing to make money, at what point is the salary cap not to keep going? Because when they raise the quarterback, it's crazy. They raise the salary cap and they raise everybody's prices. And just take a look at the trajectory. Everything is consistently moving up every year. When is it actually going to stop? You even look at baseball, TV deals. These TV deals are so big, and the reason why the Phillies have all this money to spend, the reason why the Yankees have all this money to spend, people aren't stopping watching these games. I mean, specifically on TV, I'm sure they get money if people watch it on the My Teams app. It's the same thing.
Do you remember how big of a deal it was when the Phillies announced that there was going to be a TV deal?
Yeah, and it took a couple years to kick in and all that, and now look at us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane, and I just picture where these athletes are really going. Talk to a guy who played professional sports in the 70s and 80s, and now talk to guys who are in the 2020s almost. It's just mind-blowing amount of money, in my opinion. And
Can I have some?
Yeah, right. You even see it with college football. Dabo Sweeney cashing in. Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah.
Do you think that has anything to do with, well, I mean, winning national championships, of course, but you're telling me getting on national TV and winning championships and having the logo branded and the school getting paid for that, it all comes back to TV deals and how much revenue these schools and these big corporations and organizations are making. And I just don't see it slowing down.
No, neither do I. Not in the near future.
And hey, I scream on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe one day YouTube takes over television.
Sure.
And then I don't know where this is going. Somehow
Google, you listening?
Yeah. What I was trying to get to was somehow I could get paid whatever Jimmy Butler is about to get paid to scream on YouTube. Don't think that's going to happen. But at the end of the day,
enter the lottery.
Yeah, well, okay. But do you think I have a better chance of that happening?
Sure.
No, don't say that. With that being said, you are going on vacation.
I am going to the Bahamas.
That's very exciting. So we're going to have someone step in your spot here for the next couple podcasts or whatever the case may be. And hopefully they can fill your shoes to an A+ level. I have high hopes that I can do that. I'm in the works.
Don't suck, whoever you are.
So we are going to end this episode here. We are done episode 3 now. I think it's been going great. We're shooting for about 2 a week. I'm having a great time doing it, just kicking back, hanging out, talking sports. There is a voicemail box set up where you can call in at any time. It's a 24/7 line, 856-442-9805. You can leave your phone call whenever you want on any topic, and we will display it. I'm just going to spitball right here and talk to you on a personal level because I feel like talking to you. I think it's a good idea maybe for the future to set it up where we hit all the phone calls bang, bang, bang at the end. Kind of like what Monday Miss does with the sound off. You know what I'm saying? So it's bang, bang, bang. We hit the call. We give our 2 cents on it. Bang. Then we hit the next call. You know what I'm saying? We're going on the fly. We're adjusting on the fly.
And keep the comments coming in the comment section because we do read them. And I know in our last our comment section in the last podcast they were awesome.
They were not happy with you and the comment for fan bases, but I love it. You got to have controversy. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
So, with that being said, you can find this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play. Is that what
Check
it's
it
called?
out.
I don't have Android. Google Play Podcast.
Something like that.
Yeah, Android users. I'm an iPhone guy. What are you going to do? Thank you guys so much for listening. It means the world to me because we are getting a ton of support on this podcast. And I was always iffy on it. I wanted to find a way to make it a way to not be so specific on game recaps and it be conversations that can just flow. And you can listen at any time. It doesn't matter what happened in the Phillies game 3 days ago when this podcast came out. No, bat flips, we could talk about bat flips all day. We could talk about strike zones all day. The only time this is going to get ruined is if tomorrow the MLB says, yeah, all right, Angel, you're done. We're putting in a
Please.
electronic strike zone. Oh, man. See you guys on the next podcast.
See you guys.